Hi, I'm Emily. We're here at the Status Hackathon in Prague. It's been the last day of the 3-day hackathon, and here we have today with me Alex van der Sande. Alex has done a talk early in the hackathon on universal logins. It's a very interesting topic and everyone's been talking about it. So I was interested in interviewing Alex today to get a bit more understanding about what exactly are universal logins and the word meta transactions. That's been a buzzword as well in the last couple of days. Alex, can you tell me a bit more about yourself and what you do in the space?
So I'm a designer, and I've been with the Ethereum Foundation since 2014, and my focus has always been on how we can improve the usability of Ethereum, right? So, and it came from things like how we make a more accessible website, a website that can explain stuff, how we make a more easier to use wallet. And I've been working on all those projects all those years. And the one thing I noticed in common is that you can do the best wallet, but most users don't want to download anything. They don't want to install anything. Even like installing a Chrome extension is a lot of cognitive work for most users.
Yeah.
So that's sort of how I started thinking about other options that you could use just with a browser. That's how we arrived at the universal login standard.
Right, okay, so can you tell me a bit more how it actually works? So for example, I actually had a recent situation where I wanted to register for an event on Kickback, and Kickback is a dApp for events, and it asked me for 0.02 Ethereum, and I didn't know where to actually transfer it, and I actually can't even remember the wallet name that I used to generate the private key. So my private key is saved somewhere in my laptop in a UTC file, and I have no idea how to actually get it out and transfer the Ethereum. So how does your universal login help someone like myself who has this kind of issue?
I think you went directly to the point, right? I think that the basic interaction point of Ethereum right now are Ethereum accounts, which are things that there's a pair where there's a private key, which is the thing that you had in your file,
yeah,
which creates a public key, which is the thing that everyone can see, where you usually store your Ether, store your tokens, put your identity, your crypto keys. The problem with that is that your private key, in order to move that, you need your private key. There's no other way around it. If you lose your private key, that's gone. If you want to install if you want to have access to those funds in another wallet, then what you need to do is you need to give them access to your private key, which is usually a terrible idea because you don't want to just be giving out your private keys to everyone.
Yeah.
That is sort of why almost every single app in the Ethereum space have the first thing they need to go through is that they need you to understand what a private key is. They need you to download the seed phrase, write the seed phrase down, things like that. What we're doing instead is that what we're proposing is that every app should have its own private and public key pair, and that's okay. But the difference is that you don't back it up. Don't try to save it elsewhere. Just keep it as safe as you can in each app, and don't store any funds on those keys. Instead, what you do is you create a smart contract and you store all your Ether and your tokens and your funds on that smart contract. And then that smart contract is aware of every one of your keys in every app. And those apps can then use that key to sign a message telling the smart contract to do stuff like use Kickback for this event, register myself on Kickback, send 1 Ether to that other person, buy a crypto key, purchase a coffee, things like that. Those transactions, when you sign a message saying something like, I want you to do this, that's what we call a meta transaction. So the idea being that you don't have any Ether, you just sign a meta transaction, and you give it to someone, which we call a relayer, that person will post that on the blockchain. And the cool thing about having relayers is that those relayers will pay the transaction in Ether like a normal transaction, but the smart contract can pay them back in some other form, like DAI. So that means that for the user, we add all those layers of complexity, but for the user, it means that they don't need to understand Ether, they don't need to have Ether, and they can pay all their transactions in any token that they want or that the app supports.
I see. So you're saying that a user only needs to know their universal login, and they just use that universal login for all the dApps they interact with, and then the dApps would actually use the meta transactions to actually process.
So all the user needs to remember is that they have a username, right?
Yeah.
And that username will be a ENS name. They don't need to understand how ENS names work, but they need to remember that they have a username. And what happens is they go into a new app, they will type their username.
Yeah.
Because if it's a ENS name, we can from that username you can figure out which smart contract address that is. And then what that app does in the background is that it creates a new private key for you and requests from the smart contract to be added as one of the signing keys there, with a few permissions. Maybe that app wants full permissions because it's a wallet. Maybe that app wants almost no permissions because it's just a game. You make that request, and the user then approves that request on some other device or some other app.
Yeah.
So if I install CryptoKitties, what happens then I can go into my browser, or I can go into my, let's say, a status app or my crypto app, any other app that is compatible with Universal Logins, you can use it to approve that new key.
I see. So basically, the dApps actually have to be compatible with the universal login standard. So what's happening at the moment is are all the other dApps that are going on board with this, or?
So we just released an SDK for Universal ID standard. That doesn't need to be the only SDK. It's an open standard. Anyone can create their own implementation. But we just released our first SDK so that other apps can experiment with that. And the point of this hackathon was that we wanted people to go in and experiment and try things.
Okay.
And right now I'm hearing a lot of like good feedback from other apps, and even like people inside Status app. They are really excited about having very similar to that on their app. And our goal here is I'm sorry. Our goal here is to bring everyone together from different apps into a common standard so that we can make sure that for our users' sakes we have cross-compatible usernames.
Oh, okay. That sounds like a very good idea to just for normal users like myself who not have to remember like a million different passwords and private keys and things like that, having to store things randomly. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to having a better user experience with the dApps that I'm interacting with. So yeah, Universal Login sounds like a potential solution to the user experience. I was also talking to like Wallet Connect and Tanzorum. So they're also trying to like simplify the whole process for the user experience to interact with dApps. Like how is that related to universal logins? Are they applying that as well?
Universal, like meta transactions are not a new idea. We've been talking about using signed messages for interacting with Ethereum for years now. What I've done is, and I had seen that like Status was doing something, Nodus was doing something. What I'm trying to do is just connect all those projects, and I think Tanzorum is a good example, because Tanzorum, I just spoke with the team and they told me that they spent the last 3 months building exactly the same thing that we were working on. They were just not aware that we were working on the same thing. And now they are very excited because we can merge our efforts and make sure that we and build something that will be better for everyone.
I see. So basically the concept of what Tanzorum was building is very similar to what you were building on universal logins. Okay, I got that clear now. It seems like a lot of different projects, seems like they're doing something similar.
They are. I didn't invent anything. My goal here is just to get ideas from multiple projects and having everyone together, just compatible, being friends.
Great. Yeah, that sounds like that makes sense. Great. So what is the plan for the rest of the week in Prague for DevCon?
So my plan, I will give more talks about universal logins. I want to spread the idea of meta transactions, universal logins, and Etherless keys whenever I can. And our work was possible so far, not only because the Ethereum Foundation has been supporting my work, but because the Ethereum Community Fund gave a great grant for a few for some developers in Poland, F-Works, that were able to build this with my advice. and then F-Prize came in and they made a match bounty for them. So it means that this is all possible because a lot of players in the ecosystem have been generous with their time, with their money, with their funds.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to do here is, first of all, go and thank them and show what we've done with their general resources. And then the next step is going to be like how we expand it, how we make this bigger, how we can renew other grants and or either by renewing other grants so that we can put more people on the team, or by having help from big organizations that are just want to dedicate development time to this.
Great, yeah, that sounds like a great plan ahead. Thank you so much for the interview, Alex.
Thank you.